All right. Welcome back for episode 34. This is going to be our Veterans Day special. And I got a dear friend of mine and an honored guest that I brought in. I asked him if he would be willing to do this. I think it was the first time he's done a podcast. So we're going to be kind and gentle to him. But I brought in my good friend Jay. Jay is ex-United States Marine, and we'll get into his experience in the service. He also worked outside of the Marine Corps, and he'll talk a little bit about that. Um, we've talked, and I've known him for years. He's got, what was it, over 8 years of boots on ground in combat.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
we talk about people that have been in the military for 8 years and they may have done two or three combat tours. This man has had his boots on ground for a cumulative 8 years over a how many year period of
21.
time?
21
21
years.
years of
Yep.
service. 8 of those of actual on the ground combat experience. So, with that said, Jay, welcome. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your life, your experiences, and talk about PTSD and some of the things that you've experienced and some of the things that you've done to help yourself get better, and operator syndrome. And, so that's kind of the idea of the podcast. I really want to reach out to our brothers and sisters that are veterans to let them know that they're not the only people that are suffering with their issues. And a lot of times we think that we are,
Hmm.
right? That we're unique somehow.
Yeah.
And then, in some of the directions that we can maybe suggest that they go for help and things of that nature. So, with that, like, I want to steal a page out of somebody that you worked with, I believe, Sean Ryan,
Hmm.
right? And I listened to his podcast personally, and I like how he sets them up as far as kind of doing a little history. So,
Okay.
kind of like, tell me about your childhood, where you grew up, and things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me here. Yeah, let's just jump into it. I was born and raised in Ohio. I left school out of the 11th grade. I signed up for the delayed entry program at 16. So kind of like what you did, but I actually left at 17. So
Okay.
I didn't turn 18 until, I already had almost a year in the Marine Corps.
Your
So
mom had to sign the papers.
Yep.
Or anything?
Yeah, they had to sign. And then I had to do a few extra classes to get the credits to graduate high school. So I always had good grades, and then I never had study halls. So I just stacked up everything and had enough to leave 11th grade. So I was never a senior, never did 12th grade.
So you didn't leave school early. You just graduated early.
Graduated early.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It's just, I was driven to do that. I missed out on my 12th grade year, but I had friends that were older, so it just made sense and it worked out well. So took off, 96. I joined the Marine Corps, was, boot camp in Parris Island, and then worked my way out to California. So that's why I did my time. I was in the infantry out there, became a sniper within the first couple years, went through school, had a really good time, did a couple deployments to Okinawa. And then 2000 rolled around. There was no war, nothing was going on. So I was like, well, let me cut this. Let's move on. So I left. And then I think I watched a Discovery show or something about wild jobs, craziest jobs you could have. So I was like, man, let's try that. So left the Marine Corps, went and worked on the oil field. I was a roughneck in the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, wow.
I did that for almost a year. And then I got hurt a few times. Tried college for a short, maybe a semester. Ended up moving out here. I had a Marine Corps friend. That's a mutual friend of ours. So I moved out here to see what he had going on. I tried a few things. Ended up becoming a wildland firefighter. Did that for a season. Came back and became a mailman out here in Vegas. Greatest job I ever had. I was just like Cliff Clavin. It was amazing. I walked my routes. I delivered up Sahara, Charleston area, so you kind of know that part of town.
Yeah.
I had a really good time. I was delivering mail one day, and Time Magazine had a picture of a friend of mine from the Marine Corps, and this was around April.
On the cover?
On the cover, yep.
Okay.
A good friend of mine. And that's when my mind started racing of like, hey, I missed out on the war. Like maybe it's time for me to figure this out.
So about what time frame was this?
This was April, so
Of what year?
2004.
Okay, so it was the
Yep. This was right around when Ramadi was kicking off. The first Fallujah was kicking off. So a lot of my older friends that I knew in the Marine Corps that stayed in were kind of getting in the action. So I felt the calling, like, all right, it's time to go back. I reached out to another friend that was in, and that kind of started the ball rolling. Then I'd gone out to California, met another guy through surfing, and then I worked my way back into the Marine Corps completely. Which the whole time it was a process. It's a lot harder to do. But luckily, I had a friend that introduced me to the battalion commander, and he basically pulled me through to get me back in. And then I reenlisted 2004, August of 2004.
So then you kind of ran through that like really, really quick, right? I mean, it's like you just went through 8 years in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, I was thinking of high school was like, man, you were even a high achiever in high school.
Yeah.
With,
very hyper.
like, right. You graduate a year early, but when you were in the Marine Corps, your initial enlistment was 4 years.
Yeah. 4 years, 96
and then,
2000.
Then you got out.
Yep.
Right. And then roughneck and, mailman. And didn't you do, I think you started a police academy out here too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Left that to do the wildland firefighting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So when you go back into the Marine Corps, because it was almost 4 years you had been out.
Yeah. Yep.
Did they tell you, or was there any consideration to like having to go back through boot?
Not through boot camp. That's not the way the Marine Corps works.
Okay. I was just wondering if maybe
so any other service that a Marine, and it may have changed through the years, but back then it was, as a Marine, you want to go to the Army, no boot camp. But if you're in the Army and you want to go to the Marine Corps, you have to go back through boot camp.
Okay.
So none of that was an issue for me. And then again, since I had met the battalion commander, an amazing guy, still a friend of mine, he was like, hey, he couldn't say directly what was going on, but he knew where he was going, and they were short snipers.
Okay.
So we did a handshake, and he's like, hey, just basically have faith in me and I'll get you in. It didn't work out that easy, because along the way, everybody tells you you're not special. Doesn't work like that. You have to go give your time to the Marine Corps, and that means you're going to like main side, or you're going to be a logistics guy.
Okay.
And I had to sit there with a smile and be like, man, I don't think so. Like, I think they have other plans for me. And all the way until the very end. And it was literally to the point where the battalion, which was 3-5, was the unit that I got with, Colonel Patrick Millet, was the commander. He never even phased him. Like, there was never a doubt in his mind that he had the plan. But along the way, like I said, everybody would just tell me like, no, you're going here. And I just had to sit there and take that. But we worked it out to basically the unit had left the United States, and I was like on the rear party, because we kept hitting hiccups to where, like, I swore back in August 2nd. Do the swearing, and they're like, okay, cool, you're going to this unit over here. And they told me to just go there. And I was like, man, I don't know, but this 3-5, I'm supposed to go. And it took a couple days to where I had to call Colonel Millet, and then he had his XO get involved. And they sent an officer down there to main side to be like, no, this guy's coming with us. And then who knows if I did things the right way, but whatever. I got on the flight to Iraq, and it was to the point where I had to go buy my own gear, because they had already packed up and moved away. So
and quartermaster wouldn't give you the shit you needed.
Their gear was already packed up. But very lucky to have the friends that I did have, and the higher ups were there, and they believed in me and said, hey, we need this guy. I kept my rank, which is unheard of. Yeah, again, they were short snipers, so I kept my rank, and walked right in. And then,
what were you?
A sergeant in E5. Yep. And then I got there, and then we started doing sniper operations right around beginning of September. October, we were in full swing on the outskirts of Fallujah. And then November 8th was the first day we went in the city, and I feel very blessed to be a part of that world. That was the start of my addiction of war. So that's 4 more years in the Marine Corps. I stayed with 3-5. Shortly after when I came back, I did some schools with them, and then I went and did the NDOC for First Force Recon.
Okay.
Past that, and then kind of cut from 3-5 in 2005. Got over to First Force, went through the pipeline, met some really good guys that I stayed with for a couple of years. And then we stood down First Force in 2006, retired the colors, and then stood up MARSOC.
Okay.
So we were the West Coast team that got cut to MARSOC, and then there was also an East Coast team that got cut. Their first deployment was Afghanistan. So we did our workup, and then 2007, we pushed out the door. We were heading to Afghanistan, and then whatever politics happened, we got pushed over to the Philippines. So we got to fight Abu Sayyaf in southern Mindanao for, I think it was a month and a half we were down there. But it's very unique situation because when you pack to go to Afghanistan, the desert, everything's
Different than
tan.
the jungle.
Yeah, so we're on basically the flight line with spray paint going from tan to green. And then we go in the Philippines and everything was green. 45 days later, they're like, oh yeah, but you're ready to go to Afghanistan. So now we got to repaint our stuff. But we're all mature guys. We'd been in the military long enough to be ready for it. So nobody had any problems with that transition. So I ended up in Helmand Valley, Afghanistan, which is a very, very active, a lot of history there, just the same as Fallujah.
Yeah.
So again, I felt very blessed to be a part of that. We wrapped up things there, came back. Side note, on the way back, I met my amazing wife, Australian wife, and I actually brought her back met her 4 days and asked her to marry me. Came back to the States, and I felt like the time in the military was kind of a lot of the politics, the rules of engagement were changing. And I just feel like Fallujah kind of it's almost like I had that taste of blood, and I knew that my aggressive and just that war, I just wasn't sure how much longer it was going to be around. So I didn't want to finish 20 years of my life and kind of felt like I was in a cage.
Okay.
So I was like, man, let me finish this up on a good note. Let me look to see what contracting world is like.
What rank were you?
E6.
Okay.
Yeah, staff sergeant. Yeah. So I had, I walked away in August of 2008. And again, I knew some guys and
Out of MARSOC though, right?
Yeah. Retired left out of MARSOC. Yeah.
Were you a sniper with MARSOC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I had moved more into the direct action platoon. But once you're a sniper, like you always have that skill, and I was able to have a sniper rifle in the vehicle that I traveled in. So yeah, you never lose those skills. And in combat, it's not really a label. It's just like, can you shoot this gun? Like a
job that needs to be done.
Yeah, especially on the special ops side. Everybody's mature. It doesn't care if you've been through school or not. It's like, Let's just go smash.
Can you do it?
Yeah, like let's just go smash some stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I was lucky because I actually had a lot of combat time in the world of sniping. Even though Fallujah was not a lot of long range stuff in the beginning, it was. And like I said, in October, we'd started doing our operations. But yeah, it was a whole new world going from sniping to now you got to clear the house to get to the rooftop. Definitely was thrown into that without any training, none at all as far as house clearing and stuff like that. We just learned on the go.
So, we're going to talk about, TBI and trauma, right? Now you're sitting behind a scope and a gun.
Yeah.
What would were you using a 7.62?
Yep.
Like M49 system?
That was, what do we have then? M40.
M40?
Yeah. So it's a 308.
Yeah.
Throws a 308 round.
So,
yeah, I think we had the A4, A3 back then.
Then,
yeah.
Did you use any 50 cal yourself?
From Fallujah, we had the rifle. I fired it a few times.
And the reason I'm asking is because of that explosion that is right here.
Yep.
I mean, it's less than 3 inches basically from your head.
Yeah.
Even a 308, there's still transcranial
Yeah.
blast wave coming through. Now that 50 cal,
Yeah.
anybody has to watch a video if you've never fired one
Yeah.
and see what that blast radius is. And it's going right through those snipers' brains every round
Yeah.
that you'd send.
Yeah. So knowing now what I know and the science and just being there, that overpressure is, you understand it to a T, but now take it and put it into a room
Right.
or a closed. So now that's reverberating from walls and on a higher level. And we know with a brain injury, you can recover from it if you give yourself time. But if I'm behind a rifle I was fighting every day, every hour of the day from November until April. So how could I ever give my brain time to heal? It's impossible.
Yeah.
So that's the start of my injuries to a higher level. And it wasn't just shooting. I mean, I was blown up with a grenade November 8th in close proximity. I mean, within a few feet. That was the hardest injury that I had in the beginning. And then from there, it's just every day. It was more and more, just explosions after explosions. Remember one day in the beginning, there was tanks. We had tanks in the streets, which as a kid growing up, you're like playing with toys. You're like, yeah, tanks in the streets. I was living it. It was amazing. But to talk to the tanker, if you don't have your radio, you just walk up and there's a phone on the back with a cord. Well, I remember talking to him one day and he fired off a round and the whole top of the tank, it moves.
Yeah.
And it blew me down the street, but I still had the
handset,
the telephone in my hand. And I remember waking up, or I don't know how long I was out, but I remember having the conversation with him and we were all laughing. It was just no big deal. It was normal for us. And it was days like that, just over and over and over. Every day was a new battle, a new problem to solve. And that was what started the brain trauma that just evolved. So yeah, exactly like you're saying, that overpressure, it gets more and more and more, and you just don't have a chance to heal.
Well, I was thinking on the small level as a sniper, and then you move into kind of that 0311, we're going to go in on the ground side.
Yeah.
And that had to be a lot of breaching going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Highly.
And as well as I do in those situations, safety distance from the breaching charge is not really a consideration. It is, but it isn't, because you got to roll in, you got to breach, and you almost
you're right in the
following
bang.
the door in as it's going in, right?
Yep. You're right in the bang, and then there is a formula to do it, but in all the combat I've done, none of that matters. Your safety doesn't matter. It's getting your team out of there alive. So if you got to eat a bang the education wasn't there back in those days.
Yeah, we didn't have.
We knew. I think I fired over 30 AT4s in my days overseas. And, I really think the information and the literature is there that if you fire one AT4, your head's going to be messed up.
Yeah.
And we were firing them nonstop.
And for those of you non-military or non-infantry, AT4, it's an anti-tank, shoulder launch missile.
Yeah.
So
we were using to knock the front door down.
Yeah.
It's not it's just, it was layers and layers and layers of injury. And I think that a lot of the issue is once you get to that damaged spot, then shooting a pistol starts to become more damage.
Yes.
Any loud noise is even going to a concert and that reverberation in your brain. That's just, you're layering on more and more and more. You just don't give your brain doesn't get a chance to heal.
Yeah. I mean, we know from, sports injuries that second impact syndrome, that's why we take people out now. They have a concussion. You don't let them get another one because it's that second impact that can kill them. Yeah. Right. Is the brain is more fragile. You're more prone to a brain bleed or, a worse outcome. So,
I think they're just giving your brain an opportunity to heal.
Yeah.
And we just never had it.
Yeah. And so, all right. So you get out and you start thinking about contracting.
Yeah. So I got out and, could have walked away with just that brain damage, but no, I rolled into a next level. I wouldn't say higher level, but just another level of, I would say the special forces world, definitely a lot of special ops. But yeah, I went through training and then I was deployed, maybe April of 2009
as a contractor.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I was hired through an industrial company, to do work for the government. And then after a few years, I was directly hired
By the government.
Yep. And then I ended up, let's see, I did, so just about 3 military, I did 3 combat deployments. And then with this government agency, I did 33.
Okay.
So that's where the E-years comes from, is
Mostly
those
through the
deployments.
government.
Yeah. Yep. And I admit I have really bad brain damage as far as remembering things.
Mhm.
So I had to go back and verify that through plane tickets and stamps on passports, because, I think a part of figuring out the injuries that we have is acknowledge them and admitting that we do have, and then start uncovering it. I was, not to jump ahead, but I was fortunate to go to Shepherd Center in Atlanta, Georgia,
Mhm.
for a traumatic brain injury clinic. And they really helped me unpack. We unpacked everything, and they really taught me how to change my life around to get time to heal up.
I remember when you went there.
Yeah, it was,
You remember prior to you going and
Yeah.
came back and
yeah, it was a huge, it was eye opening,
yeah.
to really just take a moment to heal and stop damaging my brain. But that was one thing I was able to do, is look back, because I think a lot of us in special ops world, we all have imposter syndrome. So you stop talking about things because you don't know if it's real. And I still, to this day, I'm like, I did not live that life. Like, how can I be that lucky? And you just don't feel like the things you did were that special. But in reality, if you write it down and you look at newspaper articles and, again, plane tickets, you kind of step back. You're like, shit, that sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
And I think what that does for us, it allows us to take a moment and say, okay, wait, that's right around the time when I started feeling this way, or I picked up more alcohol use.
Mhm.
Let's look at what caused that. And then, what I've really figured out is I had a lot of different personalities, because the job I was doing, I was having to come up with cover stories or reasons why I was in that country. And it was almost like I created a fake person.
Mhm.
So now when I sit down and I talk to a doctor or psychiatrist, like, I have to take a moment in my mind and say, okay, who was I pretending to be back then? And let's go back there. What was I wearing? How did I speak? What language was I speaking? All these things. And now let me sit down and approach it from this direction, because now when I go back in my mind, I can better describe what was going on, who I was. And now maybe we can look at it as from a psychiatrist. Now maybe we can talk to that person from back in those days, and not just a person that's sitting on the couch today. So again, Shepherd Center was a great opportunity to do that. So to get back to it, that's why I can verify and say, yeah,
Right.
I did these deployments. I actually, my wife's been helping me put together like a shadow box.
Yeah, you
to
showed
show.
me that, yeah.
Yeah, and I get a lot of kind of excitement to put it together, and a lot of pride. And I have a son that's 16 now, so it's important for them to know my past. A lot of scary parts of my past, but it's good. It's therapeutic to put that together and not be ashamed of it. But again, the imposter syndrome's there, so you want to be able to verify.
Well, I've heard you speak on these different occasions, and I've never been in those situations. So, but my mind almost is like you were almost forced to create multiple personalities, because you had to truly engulf yourself in that personality, because literally your life depended on it.
Yeah.
And one slip up could have been the end, right?
Yeah. I think one of the clear as day is the dialects of speaking Arabic. And I was never fluent. I mean, the longer I would be in a country, the more I could speak it. But when you start to change your personality, again, your cover story, when you really start to layer that stuff, who you are. And then also when you're there in these countries, your job is different every hour of the day. Because in some countries, I would be dressed very nicely, and I would be doing more, let's just say I would work around an embassy more often. So
Okay.
you can't be a a complete warrior and walk around with your battle stuff on. But after a few hours of that, then I'm moving in more of a just kind of blending in with the local crowd.
Okay.
And then at night, then that's when we're doing like the really the cool stuff that we all signed up to do. So every one of those,
Different person.
it's a different person, and that's in one day.
Right.
So now you stock, you do that. I did it for 13 years. In every country, every deployment was different. So again, when I'm trying to figure out what these issues are with the traumatic brain injury, like it really helped to be able to sit down and say, okay, why was this year different with the start of alcohol on that level? What was doing it? And I think I started to really put things together when that level, the stress level started to pick up, and then also the head injuries just started compiling more and more and more. And there's a few traffic accidents, car wrecks that kind of came into play. I could better track down the head trauma that was causing more and more problems.
But it was just repetitive over.
Yeah. You just never get a chance to rest.
To cover up.
Yeah.
It's only because I know you so well. It's, what one of the thoughts that kept running in my mind when you said that you were in the Emmys is, did you wear shoes?
I always had flip-flops in the back of the car. Yeah. And some of those countries, guys would laugh, but I mean, if nobody in the city is wearing boots, I'm not going to go on the city and wearing boots. So there were a few countries where, that's all I would just roll around in flip-flops. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love being able to blend in.
So there's a couple things that I wanted to cover. One of them, we know, what is it? The estimate was there's 22 veterans per day that take their own lives because of their issues with traumatic brain injury, PTSD, operator syndrome. It's just, and a lot of, I think for me, it's hard to fathom that things got that complicated that the only answer was to take yourself out of the game. Right. And we were talking about that, and you put it so succinctly that for me, a guy who knocked on the door of being in combat when I was in Panama, the way that you put it, I was like, oh, now it makes sense, because it never made sense to me. And I don't think for a lot of people that we can wrap our head around it. And can I get you to kind of take me down that pathway where you said, I had my shield, and then, right. So
I there's so many different things that we've talked about through the years. And I think in Shepherd Center, I was able to set alone, because I lived there for 3 months. So it kind of takes you away from the world, and it gives you a chance to look within. And I think what I learned there was, for one, when you join, especially the Marine Corps, there's a commercial, and the Marine becomes a Marine, and he goes out with a sword and a shield, and he fights a dragon. So we all join the military. And I think that's in all of us, especially depending on what part of the world you've been born and raised, you have that warrior mentality. It's your instinct. So I think all of us sign up for that. Like, let's go slay the dragon. And then when you actually get to combat, it's not like that at all. There's so many levels to it, but at the end of the day, you take another human life, and the older you get, the more wisdom you gather. It's like, man, I could have been at the bar either drinking with the guy, or like we could have been neighbors.
Right.
Is that the right, did I make the right choice? Was I a dickhead when I was in combat and make the wrong choice? That's things we have to live with. Mm-hmm. No matter how much you heal, you still have to carry that. And that's a choice that I made. Wouldn't change it for the world, but realizing that and kind of coming to terms and stop, I had to, not that I ever did blame anyone, but I think that's another problem too, is guys just have to kind of stop blaming anybody else. You're in that position, whatever choice you made, it's yours. But at least you woke up and you realize the dragons aren't there. They're other humans. Mm-hmm. However you discover the reason you were there, That's something else you have to deal with later in life. The
Mhm.
reasons why
Yeah.
everybody has their
Yeah.
opinion on that. But I think another point that I learned was that all of us have a beast, and that's just the word. That's the hero. If you have a beautiful wife, like everywhere you go, you're gonna feel like a beast, and you're gonna feel like she's with you because you're bigger and badder than everybody. Well, when you're in combat, and anybody from our part of the world that's a good person is gonna protect the weak, like hands down. Like, it doesn't matter what branch of the military you're in, like you're gonna protect the weak, and it just the level of how much you're gonna protect them is, I think that's the branch of military you're going in, and like that says a lot about it. So I think when you're over there, you have this beast side of you that protects, and that beast is just always going to keep the people around him safe and make sure everybody gets back home. Well, there's another level, and there's the monster, and when things kind of get crazy, the war kicks off. That beast is there to protect, but the last second, when somebody's life has to be taken, that monster has to step in. And I think that's kind of where we can lose ourselves if you can't step back into the beast mode. And I think with the suicide, what I kind of learned, the wisdom that I gained from psychedelics and being at Shepherd Center, was that's where your soul's broken, and you almost, that beast and the monster kind of, they just want another meal. You're addicted to blood. The monster, you allow that monster to come out, you let it feed, and now you just don't, like, you think that you can live without him, and he's never going to get an opportunity to eat. He's going to eat you, basically, if you don't get that under control. If you don't realize that that's the truth, like, you're going to have those situations where you're like, man, I don't know what's wrong, but I don't want to be here anymore. That's that beast and monster that you had to create to survive combat. And he just wants that last meal. And his addiction to blood is basically that last meal is eating you. And another aspect that I believe too is your body is a host to your soul, your conscious. If it doesn't serve your conscience anymore, then it's going to ditch you and go find another host, just like any parasite, like any bacteria, anything, like even animals. Like if it doesn't need its den or its home that it's in, it's just going to discard it and go to the next. And I think that's where suicide could also play a role in that. So that's the thing, is like, take better care of yourself.
Yeah.
If you're drinking all day, you're not getting out of bed, and you just have no purpose in life. Like, yeah, of course your body, like your soul wants to go and be a good person. It wants to go and climb hills or mountains. Like, it wants to go make friends. Like, if you're not going to help out with that, then yeah, it's going to give you the thoughts of just go away. Mm-hmm. So I think but when you start having brain damage and PTSD, you lose control of that. You really lose control. But I think acknowledging it and accepting it and saying, okay, yeah, I do have problems. That's the step of it.
I think it's like to your points, the awareness and the acceptance of it, and then being brave enough to go seek the help, because the help's there. It's available.
Yeah, 100%. It is there. I think just thinking back and saying, hey, how many, just your training through just boot camp alone, I think that starts the brain damage right there. And we have the literature, operator syndrome. Dr. Chris Fury, he did he has the literature. He's the guy that went and actually lived with the special ops guys. And like, I don't think there's a doctor out there that would say it's not true. So we know it's out there. It's just literally, I would just advise guys to take a look and look at their past and say, okay, like when I threw this grenade, was I too close to that explosion? And maybe this is the reason I'm not sleeping. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is why I get agitated or I have night sweats, or maybe the brain damage is more than what I'm giving it. Because we hide it in so many ways. You start going mission to mission, job to job. You just keep striving and striving. And maybe you just need to take a break and find where that brain damage happened.
Well, I think, we talked about this before we came in here, and, for a lot of guys, it's hitting the bottle.
Yeah.
Kind of hiding or trying to self-medicate with drugs and or alcohol. And you shared some stuff with me about, your issues with alcohol.
Yeah.
And I had known you then, and I had no idea. You were very adept at hiding it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm I'm being honest. I had
Yeah.
no freaking clue when
Yeah.
you were just telling me how much you were drinking. I was like, whiskey tango foxtrot, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like no freaking clue.
Yeah. I was 100% functional, and I would still make it to my appointments. Yeah. And that was just a cumulative just wear and tear of my body. And then right towards the end, I stopped deploying in the end of 2020. It was a very long deployment, longer than usual. The part of the world that I was in, there was, honestly, my soul was just kind of ripped because I had been used to so many years of chasing bad guys. But this particular area, there was a civil war going on, and I would have to spend time on both sides. And I started to see just a lot of like, it was shady. We were just, things needed to be done. And I was just I was not really stuck in the middle, but whatever, I had to be a part of it. And, that kind of tore me a little bit. And after a year of that, then there was some situations happening with, migrants, with, illegal aliens just traveling through parts of this world. And, I really seen the mistreatment of that side of the world. And then I didn't notice it at the time. It took 2 years later, but that's kind of where drinking was. It's what I did. It's what I needed to stop the noise in my head. At that point, the brain trauma was so bad. I needed the alcohol and the self-medication to almost walk straight, because my head was just pounding so hard all the time. I couldn't wake up in the mornings and go through a normal day because my head was just so damaged. And alcohol, obviously we know it makes it worse, but that's the only way that I could get through the day to mask
Kind
it.
of numb it,
Yeah, without just screaming or wanting to
pay the price later.
Yeah, like honestly, there's so many days where I was just like, man, this is not, like, it's not good, but I don't know why, but man, like there's got to be something better to this. And I stopped deploying the end of 2020. My wife and I had our second child, June of 2021. And I started drinking heavily in 2018, but in the end of 2021, I came home. It was really, really bad. My son was born. I didn't realize it at the time, but my soul was having some issues. And then in 2022, I finally raised my hand and was like, hey, I'm broke. Like something's really bad. If everybody's telling me that it's all on me, like I'm just going to go away. Like this is not, it's not fun. It's not cool. It got to the point where even if I wanted to keep chasing the dragon and deploying, I was too dangerous for everybody. I felt like I did a couple of deployments where I was a little wild and out of control. So I raised my hand for help, and everybody was like, oh yeah, like, what are you talking about? Like, I couldn't come back here to the States and get a normal doctor. Like you knew what I was doing, but there was the trust there. But I couldn't walk into a psychiatrist and be like, hey, yeah, by the way, like I did these things.
Right.
Most of it's top secret. I can't talk about it, but just trust me. And I had gone to a neuro doctor, and both my back doctor and neuro, they were like, yeah, cool. You could just make up this story to get these medications. And that's when I was like, oh shit, like this is a really bad problem. Because not that they're calling me liars, but I could walk in here and say, I'm an NFL quarterback. I have these issues. Can you prescribe me these drugs? And they're not, it's not that they're not going to believe me, but they kind of got to turn their head sideways and be like, you're a small dude. Like you're not a quarterback. So it was kind of that, how can I get help if I can't even be truthful, and not even be truthful, but where do I start? Like,
right.
I was technically not really in the military, but I was working for the government. So then it's like, who's going to pick up this bill? Like who's going to help out? So it was very, very confusing. Not so much let down of it all. Just, you don't have any direction to go. And I think, I chose to raise my hand. The drinking kind of went away, I chose to step out into the world of psychedelics to
But-
seek help.
So is that how you stopped the drinking? Just getting into psychedelics, or did you eventually find some help, or did you just quit on your own? Like,
It was a combination of like me being overdoing everything. I just picked up the bottle every day and was like, all right, let's see how far this can go. And that's where I was drinking multiple bottles a day. But it was the psychedelics that kind of cracked it open.
so it got you to stop.
It did for a while.
Because you don't drink now.
No,
Right?
I don't.
So
I don't have any. It was
how did we get from drinking a couple bottles
was-
a day and then to nothing? And how did
I
you
think
do
it was really the love of family and friends. Not that they even knew what was going on, but it was the psychedelics that cracked my soul open. They let me see what was going on. And I started out, I had exposure to DMT, 5-MeO. And then from there, I went down to Peru. I was in the mountains of Peru for 7 days doing ayahuasca. That cracked things open more. And I really stopped drinking around there. But when I came back from that, September of 2022, I was able to take part in a MDMA trial through the government, through MAPS. And that really cracked my soul open to let me see where the alcohol was coming from. And that in 2020, the situations again with that civil war, because I really wasn't chasing any bad guys to that extent. It was a lot higher stuff that was going on, stuff that I shouldn't have known about. And then seeing the migrants, that just crushed my soul. And I didn't realize it until the exposure with the MDMA. And then when I came off of the MDMA, or came after my third dose, I finished that trial. I went straight to Shepherd Center for the Traumatic Brain Injury Clinic. And that's when they were able to help me put everything together, and then no alcohol, completely nothing after that.
So in that MDMA, you did that with counselors.
Yeah.
Right.
Very organized and awesome. Very, very fortunate. A friend, a good friend of mine set it up. There was a donation that had to be made. And, I was one of the first ones to go through it, and it completely, it didn't save my life, but it kind of it let me look at my life from up above. So it did save my life, but you still got to do the work.
Well,
I had to do tons of work after that, but at least it let me see.
Well, it opened you up to doing the work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Because you weren't, you didn't even know it. The work needed to be done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And I'd never suggest or advise anyone to go take these drugs. The reason it worked was it was in a medical setting. I had 2 therapists with me, and they were there with me the whole day. I did 3 doses. It's very regulated. And again, that just kind of cracked my soul open and it let me see. And even after the MDMA, the Shepherd Center, 3 months, that allowed me to change my routine in life, because, you got to do something for over 66 days for it to become like a routine. You can be motivated, but your motivation ain't going to do shit for you. It's going to die out after a day or two.
Yeah.
Discipline is what's going to keep it
Discipline
going.
is the
So when you break that 66 days, now the discipline is almost like it's not needed in such a
Second
strong form. Yeah. Now it's just a habit.
Yeah, it's just what you,
And that's what I learned at Shepherd Center, and I still use everything they've taught me now. But the MDMA is what got me there. And it was all the psychedelics that I've been exposed to.
so let's
A year later, I did Ibogaine, which was another amazing aspect. And that Ibogaine really let me see more of the traumatic brain injury that I deal with.
So 5-DMT was your first psychedelic experience.
Exposure, yeah.
And
Yep.
and was kind of setting kind of thing. Where
Yep.
was that? So I know that I think there's somebody down in around Coronado, a former SEAL, that was helping some people with that. I had heard, kind of rumor of that.
Yeah.
Was is that kind of the route you went, or just like, how did you get exposed to the 5D?
It was so the safest way to do it is in Mexico.
Okay.
But if you're in a really bad spot and you do search it out, I'm sure it can be found. And there are, within the special ops world, there's people that do take care of special ops guys. That was my exposure.
Okay. So you go and you do that, And I mean, you'd show me a video of you doing that,
Mhm.
and I never really thought of doing it. And I looked at your video, and I was like, I'm terrified of the even thought of it. But I've heard such good things for the well, I'll say the vast majority of stories I've heard is, the people get the ego death.
Yeah.
That ego death is what really allows them to begin the
Yeah.
healing process.
Yeah. Yep.
And kind of let go a lot of the bullshit, for lack of a better term, that
Mhm.
tethers us,
Yeah.
to a lot of the depression and anxiety and all
Yeah.
this other stuff, and addiction and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Because your ego wants you to be addicted.
Yeah.
Our conscious wants us to stay in the bedroom because you're safe. So it really takes a lot every day for us to get up because the world's not safe. So your conscious and the addiction just wants you to stay in the bedroom, and whatever your addiction is, just go buy a bunch of it, stay in the bedroom until it's gone, and then go back out. But I think the ego death, because our ego it's what it's created from our past. So for me being in war, my ego, that's all I knew. And again, that beast, the monster inside of me, when I wasn't able to feed it anymore, it started to reach for anything it could get a hold of. So when I was able to experience that ego death, that was a big start of healing.
Okay.
But I've had to do it quite a few times since then.
Mhm.
Now I have very fortunate again to have friends that are on a higher level of meditation, and I can do and fight my ego within the meditation.
Mhm.
But it was a lot of years of scary psychedelics.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some, we call them yogis or what, but that say that you can enter those same states without
Yeah.
the drug,
Yep.
if you can meditate,
Yep.
hard enough,
Yeah.
to get you there.
Yep.
I know.
I am officially at that level. I'm still learning the names and the words to say, but yeah, I'm
Okay.
really, really high up there. on
Okay.
all of it. And I use it's a group. Wisdom Dojo is what I've been blessed to be a part of.
Okay.
And yeah, it's very true. Everything that you just said is 100% true.
Okay. Well, you've lived it, right?
Yeah,
Both
there's-
sides, right? So,
There's definitely magic out there, and you can get there through meditation.
and so the second step was the ayahuasca in Peru.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm sorry because you've told me some of these stories. Is when you went in, and this is with the shaman, or was this the Ibogaine that you went into with the shaman, where there was like some of them were like, "Holy shit, the devil came out," and they left.
Yeah, this was the ayahuasca in 2022 was this trip in Peru. Yeah, they definitely.
You had one guy that actually stayed with you, but everybody else
Yeah.
kinda bugged out.
It was it was very rare. So it was somehow whatever the gods put us together. It was an all male group, and the guy, the leader, the facilitator, he said that he'd never seen that for an all male group like that. But as the days gone on, he was like, "We're scared of you." Like me and the shamans, like we've not seen, and you're there for 7 days. I think it was about the third day when I did the dose. I had done 4 times what the dose of what's recommended or what they usually see. And I was still going. And the shamans put a little extra work, definitely, to get to the bottom of my soul. But it was cool. There was an older, wiser shaman, and every time he would come in front of me, he would just kind of giggle. And I figured out it's just like he knew the ride with me was going to be fucking spectacular.
Right.
And it was the work that they did was for them. I never seen fear or anything, but they knew they had to do a lot of extra. So they put in an extra work. But yeah, I could feel the people around me, the other guys in the room, just kind of quietly shy away from the energy that I had. And the jungle goes crazy when you are experiencing these things. But yeah, it was definitely one of the first steps, I think, in the psychedelic world. I can't wait until I go back down and do it again.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I think again, I don't suggest the psychedelics to anyone, but I think when you talk about brain damage, these psychedelics, and I've seen it personally within my brain, it starts to fire everything that's been shut down, and the damage that happens within your brain these psychedelics, they can go in and reopen pathways that have been
Like
destroyed.
rewire.
Yeah,
It's like
100%.
the ketamine
Yep.
idea.
Yeah. And, we've talked about tinnitus, and, a lot of times tinnitus is your brain rewiring and reconnecting these things. So it's not, a lot of times guys are like, oh man, the tinnitus is so bad. And it gets to a point where you want to grab a bottle of whiskey. And really, it's not. It's your brain trying to rewire and find pathways that have been damaged. So there's so many healthy ways, so much healthier than grabbing a bottle.
Oh yeah.
But
Well, I mean, to your point, and you've mentioned it a few times, we're not recommending people go do these psychedelics for fun, for recreational use. These all were set and setting for the purpose
yeah,
of helping you get through or open up to be able to get through,
yeah.
the issues.
If I have a really good day, I'm going to have 2 bad days to go with it. So I try to keep myself so balanced. Yeah, because I can't deal with the highs and lows the way I could when I was a kid. And a lot of that's the brain damage. I just don't have that part of my brain doesn't work as well. So I have to be careful with my highs and lows. And that's when I guess one thing I would like to say is like, keep a journal anytime you are experimenting with anything, even if you're changing your routine at the gym and you are experiencing depression, like keep a journal of it and see what works. If it doesn't work, then don't continue to do it. I had another blessing was Hyperbaric Chamber.
Okay.
Nonprofit organization for veterans. They gave me, the first set was 40 sessions and I seen an improvement. So they gave me another 20. So I had 60 sessions of hyperbaric chamber. And this was after my psychedelic exposure. It helped me tremendously. But I think there's also some other things as far as I was able to do a deep meditation inside of the chamber for 80 to 90 minutes. You take anybody and take them away from the real world for 80, 90 minutes, they're going to be a better person. It calms you down. Yeah. So, but again, I was fortunate for when I had the time each day, because it's Monday through Friday. I was able to go, and that's where you see the benefit is being able to go every day. I was fortunate enough to go. So I don't think hyperbaric's the fix all for all of it. But if you have the opportunity, man, I think Shepherd Center 3 months and then the hyperbaric chamber.
So yeah, you mentioned Shepherd. So what did they do with you at Shepherd Center?
So they start you off. You have a full team. For one, it's in Atlanta, Georgia. So you got the Southern love down there, the hospitality. There's nothing to do with the military. So you're not fighting that. When the military tries to help you out, because this was for veterans, the program I went to, it's called SHARE. If you're still in the military base, you're still fighting that like military. You see it all the time. You're reminded. This was nothing to do with it. So you're already pulled out away from the military mindset. And they actually do care down there. Like no one ever made me feel like I was just going to see some therapist or see some doctor. You're there with a team, and it's everything from, it's a speech therapist. You have a psych. You have, there was like 5 therapists there. You have an occupational therapist. I can't remember. You have like 5 therapists. It's a team. Again, you see them every day. What's really cool about it is it's a nonprofit. They're not for pay. They don't make any money from it. It's funded from the Shepherd family, and then a lot of donations from other people. I think it's the only program that should be going on for veterans. But every day that team, and they all talk to each other. So once a week or every day, and at any time, if they see something going on with you, like whether you're tired or you're irritated, they'll let the other team know. And now you have 5 people that's like, hey, okay, I understand earlier you had a migraine. Let's just take a few minutes with the lights off and just calm yourself down. So that taught me like, hey, you don't have to push through your normal everyday thing. Right as soon as within the first week of being there, I was like, wait a second. If I don't feel good, I can just calmly sit down and like gather my thoughts. Like, wow, that's different. Cause I was so used to just going, pushing and pushing. And like just learning
through it.
Yeah. Cause
that's what we were taught.
Yeah. We're whatever. We're not
Suck
losers.
it up.
Yeah. We're not losers. Like, let's just keep going.
It makes you losers, but that's, we're taught to believe that.
Yeah. And, and when you have the opportunity to slow down and just say, or when you walk into a room and you have a migraine and you just ask like, hey, can I turn the light off? I've never had any appointment I've gone to where they weren't like, yeah, of course. But I just had always thought that I was an asshole for asking that.
Right.
when I would go to an appointment and leave angry, and really it was just the lights,
Yeah.
just to learn that little part of it. And to take that 3 months, realize those things. And then in the beginning, find that out. And now I have 2.5 months to fully work on it. It gives your brain the ability to heal, to see the injuries. And then again, you got to keep doing it. But they worked with me every day. Again, having those therapists there. And it's when I was there, it was 2 teams. I think they added another team, but everybody's a big family. They're all watching you. They actually care. It allows you to let your guard down. And now when your guard's down, now you can look at those actual injuries, where they came from. And then they help rebuild your life to keep you going in the right direction. It was amazing. Anybody that goes there is going to say the same thing, that it definitely was life-changing. I definitely continue what they taught me there. And they don't sell you anything. They have no gadgets.
Right.
It's all within, literally it's just, hey, when you're having a migraine, what can you do to help you? For me, I don't wear shoes. I came to your wedding. I didn't have shoes. Like, I have to, if I'm going to go out in public, like, I have to have these ways to ground myself. If not, and we talked about this, like, if not, I'm going to have to sleep the next 3 days.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to withdraw so much because my brain is overstimulated that I'm going to have to step away. So I have to have these things to ground myself, which back in the day was alcohol, but it just ruined your life more. But now I know, like, okay, I have to go in public for an appointment. If I'm going to do that, I have to prepare the day prior. Basically, I have to make sure I get enough rest. I need to make sure that I pack the things that I need to take with me. Food's a big thing. If I can't go that long without some sort of food. If I can do all those things, I can make it through that appointment, then I can go home and be with my family. If I mess any of that up, then I'm going to go home, but I'm not going to be present. I'm not going to be a part of a healthy family.
Right.
I'm going to be completely withdrawn. On the outside, it's going to look like aggression and irritation, but really it's just my brain is just shut down. It's overstimulated, and I haven't given it the chance to rest and recuperate. I experienced it this weekend. We tried to go to a local park that had a Halloween festival going on. The more I got closer to the crowd and there was music playing, I completely had to I had to lay down on the ground and shut down. There was a few minutes where I just passed out, went to sleep. My family knows now what it is, and they know to just stay right beside me and let me kind of go through that. But in the past, I would have these super aggressive kind of, it's like the beast inside of me would be like, hey, we got to protect. Everybody around you is a threat. Let's just smash everything. And like in the past, I would almost be in tears when I would go in public because I'm like,
fight that feeling.
yeah, because I'm like, I should crush everybody. Why do you feel like this? Are you broken? Are you these? No, it's just, I'm overstimulated. The beast inside of me that is there, I created to protect everything, wants to protect everything, but it's not everything's a threat. Let's just shut down. Let's give yourself a moment. When you do catch a breath, let's get away from this situation that you thought you could handle. You thought you could do it, but I wasn't prepared, nor do I need to feel bad about not being able to go to this festival. I know I've experienced this stuff before. I could have sat in the parking lot and just sat in the back of my truck and watched my family go. But I just, for some reason, I thought because it was outside that I could handle it better. Nothing bad happened. I had to sleep for 3 days afterwards. And I learned I have to stop feeling bad or beat myself up over it.
I mean, what you're describing, and we know it is, that's the PTSD though. The hypervigilance you feel. I mean, that's a big part of it, and you're fighting it, right? And then as you fight that, it fatigues you. You withdraw, and so now you don't want to be even around. You're with your family, but you're not.
You're not
engaged,
present. Yeah, you're not present.
So you're withdrawn, and and so that repeats. Headaches, fatigue, right? Because I pulled these papers to kind of just, it was articles that we had shared, back and forth, and it's just like everything that you're saying, is like irritability and anger outbursts, problem sleeping, changes in behavior, personality, just kind of like, okay, you don't need them all, right? So it's like we're we were talking about like excessive fear and worry. I've never been afraid, but fear, as I was explaining to you, it manifests in different ways in different people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
just think of fear. That starts the fight or flight response.
Yep.
Right. And so it's fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
You as a warrior, it's fight.
Yeah. Destroy everything.
Right.
And there's fear of that.
You know,
I have fear of destroying everything.
right.
Like,
Right.
I think with some of the brain traumas, I've actually like had a time lapse to where I've disappeared for over 30 minutes. And then I come back and my first thought is,
What did I do?
yeah, like what did
What
I
happened?
do? There is fear there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know you said it as a joke, but I told you I was coming to your I know you were going to do this. I asked you if you were going to do this, and you're like, well, we might need a backup because I could be in jail by then. And I was like, you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean,
Yeah.
but that spoke to me though. When you said that, I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah. Every day
That's
that
fear.
every day that I go out, I always have the thought in the back of my mind that like, what if I go to the grocery store and like something, not just there's somebody robbing the place or something like that. I always have that fear of the PTSD and the things I've been through to bleed over into my real life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's always a joke that like, oh, something crazy is going to happen. And then it's just kind of like the training experience that I have in life. I could smash some, like I could do bad to a bad person on a higher level.
Oh yeah. Easily.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, it would, for you, it would be almost second nature because it's so
Yeah.
ingrained in you.
Yeah.
If that,
Yeah.
God forbid, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're bringing up a really good point is in my mind, when I get overstimulated, I could be at a gas station and somebody pull a gun on someone. And now I've gone out of my normal everyday being a father. Now the person's dead. And to me, that's normal. There's no hesitation. That guy pulled a gun that guy was beating that woman. I just don't have that ability to slow that or stop that.
No.
And that's scary.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes you avoid everything.
Right. He's like, if I'm not in those situations,
Yeah.
then that can't happen.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm just blessed that I don't go out and look for those situations. I don't.
Thankfully.
Yeah. I'm
The
not.
rest of the world.
I'm not going out and, I'm just never going to be the person to go out and argue with anybody.
No. A thought with that center in Georgia,
Yeah.
was nutrition a part of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's something that we talk about
the knowledge, and they did teach a little bit of it, but again, you're on your own. You live in an apartment, so it's on you to make the right choice.
Okay.
But they give you some classes on it. I felt that it was something they could have pushed harder on, but man, they deal with such a wide range of people there. So, and it's so hard because I was there and they did a great job of kind of looking at me as being a different person than some of the others. So not just the special operations side, which they listened to me, and I made a lot of suggestions of like, hey, a lot of the testing you're doing with me is a normal every day. And you're saying like, hey, you're still able to do things on a higher than average. And I'm like, well, that's not a good scale because I'm used to 100%. Like I'm above average. You can't ever put me as someone that you tested, a college student or something like I've always been. So now you're telling me I'm scoring average is 50. Yeah. Now I'm scoring 55 to 60. That's straight.
That's above average. That's a failure.
That's a failure to me because I've been at 100 the whole time. So we were able to look at those things differently. Again, they have people from all aspects of the military, so they really didn't have the time to push nutrition. But I know now, and I knew then, like it's so much bigger role than what people like to realize. If you're eating horribly, you're not giving your body time to heal. You're not.
Well, you're poisoning it.
You're poisoning it 100%.
Setting yourself back.
Now your gut is poisoned and your brain's being poisoned, so you don't ever get. So when I was there, I was able to stick to the diet that I know, very, very strict on it. And that another thing too is I never ate out, and I that's a choice that I made when I was there. I said, hey man, mentally I have issues. I need to figure these out. Going out in public is not going to be smart for me. Eating restaurant food isn't going to be smart for me. And I was able to take that time and stay more inside of myself and do nature walks. So I really had my time. We would get out of there around 4 every day, I think. I would head straight over to a nature walk. That would be an hour and a half. And I just took the time to do self-care instead of worrying about food out in town or whatever.
Just go to the grocery store.
Yeah, I would once a week. I would go to the grocery store or the food at the hospital, because we were right beside a hospital, the actual Shepherd Center. We would go there and eat lunch, and lunch was provided. Dinner wasn't provided, but lunch was. I would just get a really big lunch, eat a little bit at lunch, but that was my dinner, because that would give me more time to be by myself and to figure these things out. So
they actually had good hospital food there?
Yeah, very
it's rare.
Very, very, like some of the better food and again, though, you go there and they got the fast food line. They'll have the pizza, the hot dogs. And I was always real big on telling the other kids there, like, hey, stop, dude. You're going to continue down this path of being, I don't want to say a loser, but it's very close to it. Like, you have the choice now, clean yourself up. And there was quite a few of them that would ask questions like, why do you choose to eat this stuff? And I'm like, well, anything that's made fresh is healthy. And they had healthy food, but they had the salad bar.
Right.
It's always super healthy. And I would just get the lettuce and then stack on like 4 times the amount of protein on it. And that's what I would take home with me. Quite a few of the guys got into doing that. So the nutrition's there at the Shepherd Center. Yeah, you have the opportunity to eat very, very clean.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the foundation, people come to us, in a wellness area and say, oh, I want to be on this hormone, that hormone. Yeah, the hormones are nice, right? But let's work on nutrition, exercise, sleep.
Yeah.
And the hormones can play a role in some of that, but like, we got to build the foundation first, right?
Yeah, I think the journaling part. If you're having a shitty day, just write down what you ate, how your gym session was, or what did you do to physical fitness.
Then you have that feedback that's staring.
Yeah, you can look at it and it's like, okay, it's been a month. Why do I continue to do this dumb stuff when I could just change it a little bit? It's one thing that I think my dad told me a long time ago is, if you don't like the color of the room, then paint it a different color. Like, we're not as dumb as what we act sometimes. It's like, just change the color of it.
100%.
And that's one opportunity I got at Shepherd Center, was to change the paint inside my brain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've come a long way. I remember, I called you or you called me, and I think it was, you were leaving an NFL game, and you're like, yeah, I made it. And I'm like, it was one of the few games that the Raiders, I call them the Faders. So anyway, it's one of the few games they won, but they won it in the last couple minutes of the game. I was like, you missed the most important part of the game. And you're like, I don't give a fuck about the game. I was just happy that I could be in public with my family and not freaking out. Yeah. And I was just like, oh shit. Yeah. Like I lost kind of what your goal was. Yeah. Because I was thinking more like, the sports fan kind of thing of it. Right.
Yeah. And even being at the game was weeks and weeks of,
preparation.
Yeah, it was, my wife, she had bought tickets for it, and we had to be right by the stairs. I had to be set beside the stairs in case I'd got too stimulated, I could leave. And we were on the first level right by the bathroom. And then there was an exit right there, just a single door exit. So it was very well planned out. I definitely had to sleep a couple of days afterwards, but I did. I made it almost. I made it the fourth quarter.
Yeah, man.
But, no big deal. Whatever, we left a few minutes just to beat the crowd. But yeah, it's a huge accomplishment. I have a therapist that I talked to, and there was a lot of discussion about it. But yeah, these are small steps to let me know that the damage that I have it's never going to go away. It's just manageable. I don't have to have the suicidal thoughts or any of that, because it's manageable. When the ringing gets so bad in your head and the migraines and all that, like there's help out there, and there is a way to manage your life.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that one of the articles that we shared had, to do with the, operators syndrome, right?
Yep.
And it was kind of funny because, I know one of the doctors personally that they spoke to in this, but it was kind of came out was Congress was, asking, about operator syndrome and why there's such a predilection for all of these soldiers in special operations, which are male dominated,
Mm.
right? Pretty much exclusively male. And they all come back, or not all, but a large percentage come back with low testosterone. And it's just like,
Yeah.
it's the stress of the situation. It's just, we're not designed to be under that stress over and over
Yeah.
to that level, right?
Yeah.
And it just drains their testosterone. And kind of this article was great about kind of different ways to improve testosterone, whether it be stimulate the endogenous production, whether it be give it. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there.
Yeah.
But are you comfortable talking about your experience and what we done to improve your levels?
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing is you've been a dear friend that's had eyes on me and watched me throughout all of this. And I think the biggest thing is you never just gave me something and said, hey, here's the answer. It was always, hey, let's try this. And then one thing I always love is I've tried it. You never give me any, like, a bad piece of gum that you haven't already tried. So I think that helps a lot, but it's always been so much more than just the hormone therapy. It's all the other supplements that come with it. And then it's, hey, let's get your numbers right. And then let's try to improve and look at longevity of, are you going to need this for the rest of your life? And from what I've seen is your diet, you get on your diet. I started eating more meat this last, between these blood lab work. And I've noticed a huge difference in it. So it's not just fixing one problem. It's looking at everything,
The whole picture.
of it. Yeah. And, I've just enjoyed having you as a friend because you've actually cared and you've always said, hey, whatever you need. And we've gotten a handle on all of it.
Yeah.
The path is cleared now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, it was a storm for a lot of years. And I think the literature too is just the doctors have gained. So everything you know, and your experience is now coming to fruition for the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and people acting like it's brand new.
Yeah.
And in this world, it's still new, but I've been doing it 20 years.
Yeah.
When I started, I was told, "Oh, you're going to create this problem and that problem," and I've been at other doctors are like, "You're not a real doctor." Well, I got the same freaking license you do. But because I didn't, suck the dick of the insurance companies to be one of their whores. Sorry, if you're a physician and you're depending on insurance companies to pay you, that's what I think of you. I went out on my own and developed the practice to become a better practitioner because I had everybody coming at me going, "Oh, you're doing wrong." And I had that forced me to continue to delve into the literature, know my shit better, to be able to defend myself and defend my position and make sure that my patients were taken care of. And they were like, "Oh, well, you're like a Dr. Feelgood." Yeah. I think we should all be doctors. Your patients should feel better, not just, "Oh, I fixed this one little thing, pat myself on the back," like, "Oh, well, at least they're not going to die from this." Yeah, but what did you do to prevent them from dying from a litany of other things that you gave them? Oh, well, I fixed my problem. But you created more, maybe, so.
Yeah, I think you're right as far as never selling yourself out to the insurance companies. Now you can, now you can sit at a table with warriors like me and fucking cheers. Like you deserve to be where you're at, and you're not cowering with your head down being like, "Oh, well, I took that insurance money, but can I still hang out with you guys?" No, fuck you.
Well, I may not be the level of warrior that you are, but just like you, we are that very small percentage in our population that had the fortitude to raise their right hand and swear an oath to defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States. Vast majority of the population cannot say that. And that's why we're doing this for today, for Veterans Day. Well, today's not, but it's going to be aired Veterans Day. Right. For our brothers and sisters who did take that oath. Right. And can hear your story and know if they're battling with issues that there is help. And, if you're looking for overall health and wellness, we can help with that as well. I take care of veterans, as you see, not only as a patient, but we offer discounts to veterans, as you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
and it wasn't. This was not intended to be, oh, come and see me. No, it was more understand that there are people out there that have gone through what you've gone through and probably worse. Because I don't think people, very many people would say they've had as much combat exposure as you've had,
Yeah.
and you're functioning in society. I mean, I
Yeah.
met you last weekend with your family
Yeah.
to watch your oldest boy play, his last season game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and it was cool.
Yeah. It's good to know that we can still function,
Yeah. So I am so proud to have you here, and I'm so grateful. Is there anything else that you want to share or say or?
Yeah. I think for anybody that is going through the dark days, man, just write it down. You don't know if it's going to get darker or more clear unless you understand where you're at. So you don't know if you're having a bad day unless you make note of it. And I still do. Every mirror in my house has some kind of scribble on it, because I do have early stages of dementia. I forget, and my worst days are when I ignore it and I don't look in the mirror or I don't look at my journal. Then things do get darker. But yeah, there's definitely help out there. Don't blame anyone else. Get out there and reach out to not just looking for the nonprofit organizations, but look in your neighborhood. Just start small. If you're a religious person, go to the closest church you can, because you never know when you're going to have a bad day. And sometimes that hour drive to that really nice church isn't practical. So find somebody close by. Find your routine that works for you. Again, write it down so you know. Yeah. And share your story with your family for sure. That was one big thing for me, is I wasn't able to really speak about what was going on in my life for so many years. Now that I've left that world, I'm able to tell my family and talk to my friends. And again, I don't talk too much about all of it, but if I can prove it with a picture, or again, I had to look at all my flight records to see, and that I do enjoy talking about, because there's no dilemma in my brain about the imposter syndrome. If I can verify it, then yeah, I'm more than happy to talk about it. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I've enjoyed our time today. It's been a pleasure.
Cool. And it's, if you're not exercising, it gets dark. If you're not eating healthy, you're not helping the situation. You're potentially worsening it. Sleep is a big foundation of this. A lot of people have issues with sleep. There's a lot of help out there, non-pharmacologic help. I think the drugs for sleep in general are not they're not as beneficial as they're purported to be. So, but
yeah, and I don't, just one quick note, I'm not on pharmaceuticals to help sleep. I'm meditation, cold exposure, cold tub, sauna.
Yeah.
And then a weekly session with my really good friends to just have a man day.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't rely on pharmaceuticals.
No,
they're not healthy for you. You may need them to get through a time, but if you are going through a bad time, write it down and say, okay, I'm going to give myself 3 months. I'm going to give myself 2 years. I need assistance to get through this next chapter of my life, but have a cutoff date. Don't get stuck on them.
Yeah, I mean, the pharmaceuticals is just one last piece on that. And I can't tell you the amount of vets I've seen that were, basically all fucked up from the VA.
Yeah.
Just kind of numbing them with a plethora of different, pharmaceuticals. So, kind of getting things balanced in the way that they're supposed to be. Diet, exercise, sleep, hormone balancing, nutritional supplementation, all that stuff makes a world of difference. So,
yeah.
All right, brother. Well, again, thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Fun, appreciate it. Yeah, for sure.
Love you, man.
Cheers.